So I think we're going to be moving on right now to our first set of House candidates. We have Michael Bridges. Are you in? Can we get Mike unmuted? Michael Bridges,
Yep.
Randy Bruce, and Sam Steckloff. Am I getting all of those names correct?
You are.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to do opening statements by alphabetical order of last name. Each of you have 2 minutes for your opening statement. And I believe, Michael, you will be going first.
Thank you. I want to thank the 11th Congressional District for sponsoring this important forum. My name is Michael Bridges, and I'm a candidate for the 37th District representing Farmington and Farmington Hills. I've been a resident of Farmington Hills for 22 years. I'm married to Deborah, and we have 2 great sons, Michael and Chauncey. Both of them are graduates of the Farmington Public School System, and both are attending medical school. I have extensive community involvement in the Farmington community, such as serving on my homeowners board of directors. I also served as the PTA legislative liaison. In addition to that, I've chaired the Zoning Board of Appeals. I currently serve as the city's liaison to the Farmington Area Commission on Aging. I'm also the city's delegate to the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. I was first elected to the Farmington Hills City Council in 2008, and I was reelected by voters in 2009, 2013, and 2017. I've also served as Mayor Pro Tem once in 2011 and more recently in 2019. I am proud of my record on the City Council. I have been involved in many issues in the City Council. Some of the most notable accomplishments is number 1, I initiated an improved city manager evaluation process. Number 2, I initiated a formal evaluation of the city's hiring practices to focus on a more representative workforce. Number 3, I initiated the establishment of an intergovernmental task force to improve communication with the Farmington City Council, the Farmington Hills City Council, and the Farmington School Board, and also to seek ways of cooperation and sharing services. Number 3, I initiated establishment, Number 4, I led the opposition against the Directed Special Assessment District, which was a controversial proposal that caused a lot of rancor in certain parts of our community. With my lead opposition, we were able to transition to a citywide millage that I thought was much more equitable and fair to all citizens.
Ding, 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 ding.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to have to call time on that.
Okay, go ahead.
So next up, we are going to need to have an opening statement from Randy Bruce. Also 2 minutes for your opening statement, sir.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank, first off, the 11th Congressional District Party for hosting this forum. My name is Randy Bruce, and I'm running for state representative in the 37th District to continue to fight for the working families of our community. During my 24 years of public service, including 16 years on City Council and 8 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, I have a record of demonstrated leadership that has resulted in many accomplishments for our city. These include the water tower that is now saving residents over $3 million per year, a rental inspection ordinance that protects our families from uncaring landlords, a comprehensive dangerous animals ordinance that protects our citizens and pets, and a city with a AAA bond rating that is consistently rated as one of the safest cities to live in the state. My goals when I get to Lansing are to improve access to affordable health care and mental health care, provide a high quality public education to every child in the state, improve gun safety, protect our natural resources, and improve services to seniors. I've been in leadership positions locally, statewide, and nationally, including 14 years with the National League of Cities and an 8-year member of the Human Development Steering Committee of the National League of Cities, with 1 year as vice chair and 1 year as chair of that national committee. I'm a licensed psychologist, neuropsychologist, and board certified rehabilitation psychologist, and have worked in healthcare for 40 years. I received many endorsements, including the mayor of Farmington, Sarah Bowman, and Jerry Ellis, the prior mayor of Farmington Hills, among other elected officials and groups. Leadership is more than just showing up to vote. It is about effective problem solving, coming up with workable ideas to address real problems and challenges, getting others to support and work with you to make them a reality, which results in good public policy. That is what my record demonstrates and what I will take to Lansing. Experienced leadership is more important now than ever before, as we need someone that can hit the ground running in Lansing. Please visit my website at bruceforrep.com for more information, and please vote for experienced, accomplished leadership. Vote for Randy Bruce for state representative. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Randy. And our final opening statement from Sam Steckloff.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to thank the 11th District Democratic Party for putting on this forum. My name is Samantha Stotloff, and I am running for District 37 as your state representative in Farmington and Farmington Hills. Now, I've been actively involved in the Farmington Hills community for the past 25 years, from being a member of our groundbreaking after-school programs, to being a charter member of our Mayor's Youth Council, to becoming the youngest youth advisor in the country while working with the Indiana League of Cities and Towns while attending Purdue University. I always knew I wanted to be involved in government and policy, but just didn't know how. While I was at Purdue University, I studied foreign policy with an emphasis on international law and crimes against humanity. I originally wanted to work for the American Foreign Service as a human rights officer. Then 2012 lame duck session happened when the Michigan legislature passed an emergency financial manager law virtually identical to that which the voters of the state had just overwhelmingly rejected. This act rather blatantly took away your voice and your right to vote. Soon after, in 24 hours flat, the Republican majority rammed through this so-called right to work law. And that's when I knew it was time. That's when I knew it was time to run for office. And in 2013, I ran for Farmington Hills City Council. I am so proud and honored to have been serving on the Farmington Hills City Council for the past 7 years. And while on council, I've continued to represent your voice and concerns. I drafted one of the first ever human rights ordinance in this state to include transgender rights. Now, while battling cancer at just 31 years old, I saw the gaps in our community health system and created the Farmington Hills Commission on Community Health, the first of its kind in the state. We've seen how our legislature has continued to fail us at our roads, as our roads deteriorate, our dams burst, our waters contaminated with lead and PFAS, our schools continue to be underfunded, and our systematic racism stubbornly persists. And that is why I'm running to be your next. I have been endorsed by nearly all labor organizations and by even more of our elected officials. And I'm so honored to have earned their trust and support. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to try and move on. We have a couple of questions, and I want to try and get as many of these as possible to all of the candidates. And these will be answered, I think, also in alphabetical order. So the first question I have here, coming from the 11th District Dems, is for all the candidates. If you're elected, what is your priority? What will your priority be the first day that you're elected when you come into office? We're going to go to Michael first. Michael's muted. Can we unmute him?
So,
All right. Okay, Michael.
Yes, my #1 legislative priority is public education. I've done a lot of research on what is needed to improve public education to improve student achievement. There was a landmark study done by the School Research Collaborative Finance group that basically concluded that the adequate cost for educating our students is $9,500 per student. Currently, we're spending about $8,100 per student. And our current funding basically does not really cover at-risk students. There's been a significant increase in at-risk students in our districts, and also special education issues, as well as English language learner. So this study was landmark and basically talked about the adequate cost of education, $500 per student, with additional funding for those areas I just outlined. The effect of disinvestment in our public education resulted in Michigan being ranked near the bottom in reading and advocacy. Jesus, what the?
That's fine. Oh, is that the timer of the signal going off? Okay. I would ask the candidates, please remember that we are trying to keep the answers to around a minute. So please be mindful of the time and try and have the gallery view on so that you can see the timekeeper when she puts up her card. So next up with a minute to answer the question is Randy Bruce.
Thank you. Great question. My first priority is also to protect public education. Public education has been robbed of funds for years. The school aid fund has lost billions to really a shell game of moving money around. We have to protect public education. We lag very far behind other states in terms of public education dollars, and the results of that underfunding show in a lot of areas. So we have to make sure that since the state is going to hit a $6 billion budget deficit over the next 2 years, we have to protect public education. We have to make sure everybody has access to a high quality health care, including mental health care. We're about 5,000 beds short in the state where we should be in terms of mental health beds, and also to improve the financial condition of our working families and the poor. We need to increase unemployment insurance benefits. We need to increase the minimum wage and make sure that people can have a pathway into the middle class and be able to stay there because of the financial challenges that we're experiencing because of the virus. Thank you.
And our last candidate to respond, Samantha Steckloff.
God, the first thing, you guys are making this so tough, but I am going to go with education as well. I'm so grateful to have been endorsed by the MEA. The amount of public school funding and diversion to charter schools has been completely wasteful. The legislation, first of all, implementing Proposal A has been a complete disaster for school funding by capping taxable property values, increasing at the lower increases or at the lower rate of inflation by 5%. So this means when we had the crash and when we had the crash and your property taxes went down, unfortunately, the school aid fund never recovered. Now we're looking at charter schools. In my opinion, for-profit charter schools must be eliminated or must follow the same guidelines as all of our public schools. The amount of money being stolen from these for-profit charter schools is disgusting. Not only are they taking money away from our public schools, but these are actually illegal. And they get around it by having these so-called agencies.
That's time.
Per pupil, they steal 3%. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Samantha. All right, the next question we have, and this is something that I think is going to come over and over again tonight, but it's very important to talk about this and put it in context for all the candidates that are planning to run in Oakland County across the state. Can you talk about some of the plans that you have to improve racial justice in your community? And this is from Karen. And again, we'll go first to Michael.
I could just talk about my record first. While on the city council, I led the effort to diversify our city's workforce. Where others stood by, did not communicate about it, I led the effort to have a formal evaluation of our hiring practices. I met with our city manager, I met with the department heads, and we've made progress. So that's leadership. Number two, I think in regards to police reform, I do support a national registry to track all officers who have been involved in misconduct or use of force charges. I do want to ban chokeholds. I also want to develop use of force standards, eliminate qualified immunity, which shield officers from criminal prosecution or civil lawsuits. We need to revisit the residency requirement. I think that basically by establishing residency requirement, we can help make communities, police officers more connected with their community. So I've been a leader in regards to diversifying our city, as with our boards and directors as well regarding commissions. And I will continue that effort, recognizing COVID-19 did reveal significant issues with racial disparities. And I will make sure that racial disparities are integrated in public policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Same question to Randy Bruce.
Thank you. Well, one of the things we have to make sure is that everybody, in terms of racial justice, has opportunities to have an equal access to education and have a pathway forward into the middle class and beyond. The other thing is, and Mr. Bridges covered some of these as well, is we need to reform our police departments. We need to make sure that we do end qualified immunity, that we end the cash bail system. So we need an overhaul of our courts. We need overhaul of our police departments. We do need a database within the state and nationally for bad police officers, and make sure that they are removed from the force and they are not employed other places when they do have problems. We need to make sure the justice system works for everybody. It either works for everybody or it works for nobody. So it is incumbent upon state legislators and national legislators to make sure that we provide that the laws necessary to make sure that everyone has that fair and equal justice. Thank you.
And that's time. All right, and same question again to Samantha.
We have seen how people's voices have been heard from here to Lansing. Now, Farmington Hills actually has a kind of special history when it comes to inclusion. We were actually one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. So the City Council has worked very hard with our police department to make sure that things are reflective of our community. We banned chokeholds a long time ago. We banned no-knock warrants a long time ago, but there's still so much we can do at the state. I'm running for state representative, so I want to focus on those things. Number one, we need to end this immunity standards that police officers have. It's not fair that their records cannot be public. We need to make sure we have a database at the state level so we know who has been let go and for what reasons before going to another district. We must end the cash bail system. This is completely disproportionate to our minority and poor Michiganders. They commit the same crime, but yet they are in jail until a sentence hearing. It's ridiculous. We need to make sure we're reforming and bringing in more social workers into our police departments.
Time. All right, the next question I have, and again, this is for all three of you. This is from the 11th District Dems. And can you briefly, for the sake of transparency, talk about who make up the majority of your donors? What makes up the majority of your donor base? The first to Michael Bridges.
My donor base is primarily individuals. They're all individuals within the Farmington community, and I've not received any funds for any lobbying organization nor union organization. This is a grassroots campaign based on receiving donors who live in the community, who have a stake in the community, who support my candidacy.
Okay, thank you. Same question to Randy Bruce.
Well, all of my donations come from residents of this city and surrounding areas, people that I know, people that I work with in my profession who know me and know that I would be a very effective leader and legislator in Lansing. I've not taken any PAC money or corporate dollars, and so my donations come from the people, and I have a large base of support. And because of that, I've been able to really have a very successful campaign with fundraising because of the support of all the people that believe in my ideals, have seen what I've been able to do for the city, and want me to continue that in Lansing.
Thank you, Randy. Samantha, same question to you.
Well, that's one of the wonderful things about campaign finance reports is transparency. So you can go on and see exactly how each one of us have funded our campaign. Now, I've received over 260 individual donations with the average of about $55 each. I have been endorsed by a lot of organizations, so I have received PAC money, which I am proud to use as I have been a union member for majority of my life. On top of that, I have had to put some of my own money in. I'm sure everyone sitting here today has had some difficulty fundraising during this COVID crisis. But I want to say, and I'll be completely transparent to all of you, I've put about 10,000 of my own money into my campaign. I am very serious about this race, and I'm so ready to be in Lansing next year.
Great, thank you, Samantha. So then this will be the last question for the evening before we give each of you the opportunity to do a closing statement. Just earlier this week, there was a Supreme Court decision that came down, which was pretty surprising. that expanded the protections from the Civil Rights Act to cover gender identity, gender discrimination, LGBTQ people. Now there's a Supreme Court decision that protects them from being fired for being LGBTQ. So I wanted to really quickly give each of you an opportunity to talk about that decision and how you feel about that decision, how it fits in with our where we are as a country and where we're going right now. So Michael, first question to you.
Thank you. I applaud the Supreme Court decision to protect LGBTQ from worker discrimination. I'm also highly supportive of including codifying LGBTQ rights within the landmark Elliott-Larsen Act, which is our state's governing act on civil rights. So those are my comments. I think that everybody should have an opportunity, regardless of sexual orientation or any issues like that, or African Americans or people of color. We have a right to access for jobs, but I'm particularly satisfied with the fact the Supreme Court made their decision, and I also will push for LGBTQ to be included in the landmark Elliott Civil Rights Act, which governs civil rights laws in the state of Michigan.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Randy, again, same question to you.
Well, I have many members of the LGBTQ community in my family and many friends. And yes, this is a great decision. It's just should have happened years ago. You know, discrimination is discrimination. And this should have been decided, I think, in this direction many, many years ago. But we have it now. That's great. We need to do the same thing at the state. We need to expand the Elliott-Larsen Act here and make sure that the LGBTQ community in this state is protected from these discriminatory laws and practices. So I am very happy about what it's done in terms of giving rights back to people that should have had them from the very beginning. So I do support this landmark ruling, and I just want to see it expanded. And I want to make sure going forward that we continue to protect those rights in whatever way that we can, and through whatever way we can pass legislation at the state level to make sure those rights are protected.
All right. Thank you, Randy. Samantha?
So as I said before, one of my greatest achievements was creating the human rights ordinance that included transgender rights. Now, I've been working with Equality Michigan for a very, very long time. And with the Supreme Court decisions that came out this week, I mean, we had a few landmark ones, especially with sanctuary cities. And we cannot forget how important that is, since we've seen disproportionately how many of our Hispanic transgenders are targeted by ICE. So that was a phenomenal decision, something we should all be applauding. I don't understand how at the same week they could take away transgender healthcare options, but say you can't be discriminated against at work. I mean, great things have happened, but we still have a long way to go. And we must expand the Elliott-Larsen law at the state level. That has to be the first thing we do.
Great, thank you, Samantha. So now we will give each of you an opportunity for a brief closing statement. Again, these should be about a minute long. And this will go in reverse alphabetical order. So Samantha, you'll be first up.
Okay. Thank you everyone for being here once again. I'm in this race because I can't keep waiting for someone else to take charge and make a difference for Michigan. We've got so many opportunities ahead of us, and I have the energy, experience, and vision to make the changes we need. I also understand what Michiganders are going through after graduating into the worst recession in decades, battling breast cancer and medical bills at just 31 years old, and watching my peers and elders alike struggle to pay growing bills with stagnant wages. I knew I had to be part of the solution. Our government and society should work for everyone, and right now too many of us feel left behind. I've seen how public service can change a community, and now I want to take my vision and your voices to Lansing. We've got a lot to do, but by working together, we can achieve anything. And I hope to earn your trust and vote on August 4th.
Great. Thank you, Samantha. Randy, now it's your opportunity for a closing statement.
Thank you. With 24 years of public service to my community, including national leadership positions and experience, and 40 years in healthcare, I'm well positioned to bring my proven leadership skills to Lansing. Because of my ability to work with other elected officials, no matter what their party, I've been able to help Farmington Hills become one of the best run and most financially stable and safe cities in the state. I will continue to work hard to improve the lives of all citizens of our state, especially working families and the poor, who are suffering now more than ever due to the COVID-19 virus and the economic collapse that has resulted. We need to make sure people have better access to health care, economic support, a good public education, and public safety and justice that works for everyone. Yes, Black Lives Matter, and we need to work to stamp out systemic racism and make sure our laws reflect this. For more information, please visit my website at bruceforrep.com and vote Randy Bruce for state rep. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Randy. Michael, your closing statement?
Thank you. First, again, I want to thank the 11th Congressional District for hosting tonight's forum. It's clearly informative. I am ready to go to Lansing. I have the experience. I've been involved in community affairs, elective office in Farmington Hills for 16 years. And I'm ready to go to Lansing. I have the values, the experience, and the demonstrated ability to be collaborative in regards to policy making and coming up with great ideas for the state. My legislative priorities include, again, public education. Clearly, that's the top priority. And secondly, I am clearly opposed to charter schools. The research indicates that charter schools do not add to the achievement of student achievement. Secondly, they need to abide by the same rules and regulations as public schools. I am for expanded the Healthy Michigan Plan to include all Michiganders. I'm also for a public option to be included in the healthcare market. I also support increased access to mental health care. We have to protect our environment. We have to support climate change recognition initiatives to support the environment. I don't understand. Why did it seem like mine is a little shorter than everybody else?
Oh, it wasn't.
So anyway, I want to be a collaborative leader in Lansing. I've demonstrated on the City Council. If elected, I'll use my experience and skills to ensure the Farmington community is well represented at the state capitol. On August 4th, I ask for your vote. Michael Bridges for State Representative, Democratic nomination. Please visit my website at electmikebridges.com. Thank you.
There we go. I accidentally muted myself. Thank you very much to Michael Bridges, Randy Bruce, and Samantha Steckloff. I really appreciate your time tonight, and I think everybody else does as well.